All right, let's get started. So, as I said earlier, I'm not a SEBI registered advisor. Everything that I'm going to share is based on my experience in this domain for last 20 years, and these are my personal views, nothing related to my employer. Please consult your financial advisor for any positions that you take, and I might or might not hold positions in some of the stocks that I'm discussing. With that, let's get started. So first, why should we invest in this sector, right? So I'm sure a lot of you are doing IT sector investing, but IT sector is a large sector. I've covered details of IT sectors, subsectors in a different video, and I'm going to put its link in the description below. Okay. Now, cybersecurity is part of an IT sector. It's a sector within IT sector. Okay. So first, why do we have to invest? Is world is connected to internet route. We spend most of our time on phone and trying to either learn information or do ordering or to buy regular stuff for our living. Okay, businesses are connected, so you see there are apps for everything now. And what has happened in last 2 years is COVID-19 accelerated. So lot of companies have presence on both digital and the physical side, right? So look at retail, Shoppers Stop, Lifestyle, everybody has a website and they have a physical store also. ITC has a website. I mean, look at most of the consumer side of companies, you will find a website. And then there are businesses that are digital first, like Bajaj Finance, right? Or banks. They can't survive without their IT systems running today. They don't want people to walk into their offices or branches and carry out transactions because it's expensive. Okay. Now, as you know, systems are when they are connected, they are prone to cyber attacks. Okay. And why do people hack? Is either to steal information, have financial access or access to data that can be sold later, and financial extortion also. Okay, and then what that means is every business that is going to use IT for access needs to have cybersecurity solutions, okay, to solve various issues, and they hence need people or resources to manage these systems. And typically these people they can hire internally, like banks, large companies have in-house team of people, and then or you outsource, right? You outsource this to a company to manage the entire cybersecurity life cycle. So the companies in the cybersecurity sector, they provide products and services to ensure that their customers' business are secure and available all the time. That's the simple agenda behind this, the companies in this sector. Okay. In terms of market size, these are two data points. It's around $366 billion. It's going to be around $366 billion by 2028 with a CAGR of 12%. And the report says it's around 11%, right? So it's at a decent growth rate. Now, of course, there would be companies who will go beyond this based on how dynamic change in the environment. Like in COVID-19, what suddenly happened is people or employees started working from home. So all the organizations wanted solutions that could secure that remote access or remote working. So stocks of certain companies exploded, right? And we are going to talk about that soon. Now, in terms of types of the companies, there are two types. One is the OEMs, which are the people or companies that are building these products. They are the original equipment manufacturers. They are making this software for addressing various cybersecurity needs. And then there are service providers who use this software to connect and to install and build, right, for their customers. And what I've done is there is another video on the cybersecurity sector overview in my channel. Take a look at it. You'll get a good idea. Okay. Now, how my investing process works is I have 3 steps. I call them power of 3. So essentially, my formula is based on what to buy, when to sell. And typically what people do is they are either buying direct stocks, ETFs or mutual funds. Okay. And when they are buying direct stocks, they are using fundamental screening. So which is essentially their sector is in tailwind or not. And then you do business analysis for finding out sales and profit efficiencies, right? And then you also use technical screening based on various scanners that could be looking for all-time high, 52-week high, and then breakout scanners and other technical scanners based on RSI, MACD, ADX, etc. Okay. And then typically you use fundamental or technical parameters to exit or to add. Okay, so what I do is typically I have the same 3-step process, and I use a mix of fundamental and technical to buy, and to decide what to buy, and then when to buy is again purely technical, and when to sell is purely technical. I don't use fundamental for exiting. Okay, so let's start with what to buy in cybersecurity, right? So first question, of course, would be in your mind: are there any Indian listed companies? Unfortunately, there is only one company, Quick Heal, and it's a very commoditized business. Not even a good quality software, to my understanding, because the market in that space, in the antivirus endpoint security space, it's they're very competitive. There are very high quality softwares that are growing at a massive rate. Okay, and so there's no cybersecurity company that's worth mentioning, and but there are service providers. Are there any dedicated cybersecurity service provider? No, none of them are listed. But all the large companies like Wipro, Infosys, TCS, HCL, all of them have a service provider arm for cybersecurity only. Okay, we call them managed security services. Okay, you will find them. They're mentioned in their annual reports. Okay, all of them are doing it. And then other thing is, most popular cybersecurity companies are based in US and Israel, and they're listed on New York Stock Exchange. Okay, so that's be very clear on that. If you don't want to invest beyond India, the only way to invest is in the service provider space. Okay, now some of you might remember this if you have seen my previous videos on cybersecurity sector, but let me take give a quick glimpse of how it works. So the cybersecurity product OEM companies and service providers, they are based on, they are organized by this analyst called Momentum Cyber. Pretty good job. This is a 2021 data set. And if you look at this within cybersecurity scape or cybersecurity sector, there are subsectors within it, right? So there is network and infra, there is web and MSSPs, which is service providers. So you might see some of our companies, Indian companies, listed here. Okay, so like Wipro is there. Right, I'm sure you have heard of Accenture and IBM, but they are US based companies. But I don't see HCL, etc. But I know they do it. This analyst might not be covering them. Okay, but so there are different companies in each of these space. Okay, I personally have experience when working with most of these subsectors. So each of them is trying to solve a specific problem, right? In a particular way. Like very simple, we all know email. So for email security, which we also call messaging security, all these companies are providing softwares, okay, or solutions to solve the email security problem. Okay, so you have to know which one to invest in based on their differentiators and how the market is rewarding them. Okay, so because I understand this sector, I have that edge of understanding the differentiators. Okay, but if you look at it, the biggest block in this is the network and security part, which has further divided, right? But this is every company which has an IT presence, they need this kind of solution. So you can't survive without a network security solution today. That's very simple. So I definitely have a position in one of these companies. Okay. Now going back, so so this is a list of companies, right? Not everything is listed here. Not every company is listed. There are around 6,000 companies that last time I checked in my circle, and you have to be very cautious. So investing in every company is not possible, even if they could be technically ahead. The other thing is, a lot of companies are doing non-stop acquisitions. So right, so look at all these, the larger companies. Let's say in firewall there is Palo Alto, Checkpoint. All these companies are doing a lot of acquisitions, okay, non-stop, to enhance their capabilities or acquire a particular new way of handling a problem or solving a problem. Okay, so let's go back, and these are the companies that I'm tracking from that entire list, and these are listed companies. Okay, so Palo Alto Networks and Zscaler, CrowdStrike, etc. It doesn't mean I have positions in all of them, but I track them because I find them that they are gaining market share. And each of them is providing or solving a particular use case. So example, Palo Alto is doing network security, secure remote access, right? And the COVID related problem. Zscaler is doing the same. CrowdStrike is doing endpoint security or antivirus on our system, something we call as endpoint security in our domain. Okay, and other companies in identity management. So what I do typically is I go to their website and I find out, from their product section or solution section, I find out the high level use case that they are doing, and then I map them. So that's the other way of looking at it. So all these are the common issues or common cybersecurity use cases, and these are the companies that are tracking, right? So network security, secure remote access, endpoint and security operations, and then identity management. Okay, so these companies are working in this domain, although there could be difference between these three companies. So you have to be a sector insider and essentially read more. That's it. So you'll find these terms. It's not that complicated. If somebody spends time on annual reports, I'm sure they can get it, right? And so, of course, the next question is where to find the fundamental analysis data. Okay, so there are two options. One is of course, the standard SEC filings report, which are the annual reports on their security exchange commissions, just like the SEBI that we have here. And then you go to investing.com USA version. So I'm just going to go to .com, investing.com, and let's say start with Palo Alto Networks. Okay. So look at this. I think it made an all-time high. If you notice, we were pretty good. And you can launch technical chart, and of course you can use TradingView also. And then what you do is you go into financials, okay, and you get all the data that is there. And maybe you can go with the pro version and find out specific ratios also, right? But this is pretty decent for me. Personally, I don't do too much into it because I'm a positional investor. For long-term analysis, go into all these details and you will find it here. Okay, you can similarly search for any other company. Okay, so look at this. This is some bit away, from 52-week high. So I use the TradingView also. So example, this is PANW, Palo Alto Networks on Nasdaq, and I build my RS I compare it against NDX or Nasdaq index. Okay, so look at this. I don't know why it is not showing. So, okay, but you get the gist of it, right? So monthly and weekly, right? So I've marked some certain things here. So yeah, that's how I typically do analysis. I'm not going to go into details of how to do technical analysis, etc. But I'm sure you get the idea. Now, the other thing is when to buy and sell. I personally use technical indicators on weekly and monthly chart. So weekly 10 EMA, 13 EMA is my exit, or weekly super trend. Other way to buy is cybersecurity ETF. So there are 4 companies I could find, and these companies are if you look at the ETFs, they have also done okay. Okay, so let's look at iShare. Sorry. So look at this. So it was in a support zone earlier this year, right? So could have made decent money. But yeah, so ETFs, as you know how they work. So another way to invest is ETF. If you're not sure about specific companies, my recommendation is, if you're doing tech sector investing, have some allocation to service providers and gaming companies and cybersecurity companies and cloud companies, and there are more, right? So tech sector is big. If you look at my watch list, I track a lot of companies who are into generally US based companies, right? And then there is gaming companies and cybersecurity companies and companies that are used by end users like Apple and Disney. Okay, these are digital first companies, and then enterprise specific companies, the B2B business companies essentially, and then some metaverse based companies. Okay, so that's that's how I decide on my investments. And other ways, I also find direct stock by looking into ETFs individually. So let's say if I go to iShare, iShare Security ETFs, and I go to their website. Okay, and I will just find holdings and I compare them. So if I don't have that Cyberscape chart, I just go to their, So look at this. So these are their top holdings. They hold 73 companies, right? And you can just start comparing all of them and decide on a position. So they are heavily loaded on these 10 companies. Okay. And I'm sure you saw some of these companies in my list. So Checkpoint is in my list, Fortinet is in my list, Palo Alto is in my list, CrowdStrike is in my list. Okay. Of course, you can't invest in everything, and unless you go with ETF. So that's how that's another way to find what to buy. Now, how I'm buying? I am using a discounted broker, but here are the options. So you can use global investing options provided by most of the full research brokers like Kotak, ICICI, HDFC, and then there are discount brokers like Grow. So I personally use Grow, and then there are USA focused platforms like Andy Money, Invested, etc., who also give you an option. So first you transfer money to their accounts. So they have a holding company in US which does the transaction, and then within 2 days your money is visible in your account to do a trade. Okay. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions about a specific company, reach out to me. Subscribe to my channel, please. My idea is to share more about investing in cybersecurity companies, because they are like dal chawal. Everybody needs it, or they are like rice. Everybody needs it. Every business needs it. So we should just ride the wave. Okay. Thank you so much. See you next time.